An operation by United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, in Minnesota has tragically resulted in the death of a woman, sparking a widespread societal outcry and fierce debate across American media. 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good was fatally shot by an Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer in Minneapolis. According to police reports, Miss Good was in her car, blocking a street in the bustling city, when an Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer approached her vehicle on foot. The car then reportedly moved, leading to at least 2 shots being fired. Miss Good sustained a head injury and was pronounced dead at the hospital. Investigations into the incident are currently underway. The federal government's reaction was swift and polarizing. Former President Donald Trump and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem both defended the officer involved, asserting that the shooting was an act of self-defense. However, this narrative was met with strong condemnation from local and state Democratic leaders. Minnesota's Democratic Governor, Tim Walz, sharply criticized former President Trump, accusing his administration of pursuing a style of governance designed to create fear, headlines, and conflict. Minneapolis Democratic Mayor Jacob Frey also vehemently opposed the operation and, after reviewing video footage, decisively rejected the claim of self-defense. Mayor Frey went a step further, calling for all immigration and customs enforcement agents to leave Minneapolis immediately. And United States media outlets are now warning of a potential escalation of violence across the nation following this deadly incident. The Minneapolis-based newspaper, the Minnesota Star-Tribune, stated unequivocally that a woman has died, and that this death was tragically predictable after the federal government decided to make Minnesota a testing ground for the most aggressive street-level immigration enforcement measures to date. The commentary continued. When armed federal officers roll into residential areas under vague authority and with maximum presence, the likelihood of a catastrophe rapidly increases. The newspaper urged federal authorities to withdraw their officers and demanded a transparent, independent, and uninfluenced investigation as the minimum owed to both the deceased and the living. Charts and cable news network CNN placed the killing of Miss Good in Minneapolis within a broader context of political violence that has erupted in recent years. They cited incidents such as 2 failed assassination attempts on former President Trump, the murders of Democratic State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband last June, the killing of Brian Thompson, chief of the insurance group United Healthcare, and the shooting of conservative influencer Charlie Kirk. CNN's analysis questioned whether the investigation into the officers' actions might be preempted by the White House's swift defense. The network also highlighted previous clashes between immigration and customs enforcement and protesters, noting that officers often wear masks and sometimes arrest both American citizens and undocumented migrants. Concurrently, immigration and customs enforcement has reported a significant increase in violence against its officers. CNN posed a critical question. Does the toughening of immigration policy demanded by Trump actually make the United States safer or even much more dangerous? Meanwhile, the Washington Post reported that no currently available video footage of the incident justifies the lethal force used by the immigration and customs enforcement agent. While acknowledging that disregarding police instructions is unacceptable and any violence against law enforcement should be prosecuted, the newspaper noted it remains unclear whether Miss Good intended to run over anyone with her vehicle. The Post sided with Governor Walz in his concern that former President Trump might exploit the unrest to invoke the Insurrection Act and deploy United States troops to Minnesota. However, the newspaper also appealed to protesters, cautioning that the uglier the protests become, the easier it will be for the Trump administration to distract from the investigation into the shooting. In stark contrast, the tabloid newspaper, the New York Post, assigned blame for Miss Good's death to the political left in the United States. It also questioned whether the victim was actually a demonstrator, asserting she shouldn't have blocked the immigration and customs enforcement officers in the first place, let alone driven her SUV at them. While calling the deployment of 2,000 federal officers in Minneapolis aggressive, the New York Post argued that the protesters' attempts to impede them were far more aggressive. The newspaper criticized attacks on immigration and customs enforcement agents and declared, "This madness must stop. Those who disagree with law enforcement can work to elect other politicians and advocate for different laws." It further stated that Governor Walz and Mayor Frey must now calm the waters, concluding, "Had civilians simply left law enforcement alone, Renee Nicole Good would still be alive." This deadly incident occurred amidst an ongoing immigration and customs enforcement operation in Minneapolis and St. Paul, involving more than 2,000 federal officers, according to the Department of Homeland Security. The stated aim of these operations is to investigate alleged fraud, particularly within the Somali community. However, United States media outlets are debating whether this official reason might serve as a pretext for a politically motivated tightening of immigration policy. In the wake of the shooting, Governor Walz urged the public to express their protest peacefully, as they always do, and warned against chaotic situations. He drew a parallel to the unrest following the murder of George Floyd in 2020, stating, "When we see such things happen, and we saw that after the murder of George Floyd, there are people who want to create chaos." The killing of Mr. Floyd, an African-American man, during a brutal police operation in Minneapolis in 2020, ignited nationwide demonstrations against racism and police violence across the United States. Stay tuned for more updates on this developing story. This video was generated using artificial intelligence. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more updates. See you next time.